My Guys in the Desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204, and VSiN.com.
Well, XPressBet is the sponsor of the upcoming races that we're going to be covering, leading up, of course, to the Breeders' Cup races, November 2nd and 3rd at Churchill Downs. This weekend, we have the Pennsylvania Derby, and that's the second of 5 races that VSiN will preview, okay? XPressBet, you can't be without it if you love betting on horse races. XPressBet offers live wagering on more than 300 plus tracks and live HD video. All right, Vinny Magliulo and Mr. Ron Flatter, let's go to the 3-year-old fillies race, the Cotillion Stakes. That will be coming up first. And take us through some of the key contenders, Ron.
Well, Monomoy Girl is going to go off as the favorite. Whether she is actually going to be the odds-on favorite, as suggested on the morning line, that depends a great deal on how much bettors have respect for some other accomplished horses in this field. But Monomoy Girl has won 5 consecutive races, 4 of them Grade 1s. One of them, Vinny, was the Kentucky Oaks. So it's a salty field, but she's the saltiest of them all.
No question, Ron. And, as you mentioned, 5 straight wins here. Going to be the favorite. It's just a matter of at what price. But you mentioned, I like Wonder Godot and I like Separation of Powers. So it's hard to leave out Chad Brown and what he's accomplished, especially recently.
Okay, we welcome in Eddie Olczyk, and he too is brought to us by XPressBet. He will be on the coverage for NBC Sports Network. And Eddie, in talking about the Cotillion Stakes, with Monomoy Girl going to be such a heavily bet favorite, will she be about 3 to 5, or do you think even lower than that?
Well, Brent, always good to be with you. I would say if you could get 3 to 5 right now, I would say go to the windows. Might be a little bit lower than that, but at the end of the day, as we've talked, as we have many a times, you got to take what the public and the track gives you, and Monomoy Girl certainly looks primed to take another step, and it'll be really interesting. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I mean that Breeders' Cup distaff come the first weekend in November has really got a chance to be one hell of a race when you think about. You think about Abel Tasman, you think about Monomoy Girl, the horse for Bill Mott is just escaping me right now. Is it Elate or I can't remember, but I mean, he's got a monster older filly as well. So I think you got Eskimo Kisses. So, I mean, that race, Brent, come the Breeders' Cup distaff on that Saturday, has got a chance to be one heck of a race. Yeah, I heard you guys talking about Wonder Godot, and I just wonder how much that Travers defeat and getting absolutely annihilated that day will have effect on this really talented 3-year-old filly. So I think she might be worth a play against. She'll probably be, one of the 2 or 3 favorites for sure, but it'll be really interesting to see if she can bounce back after getting trounced in the Travers.
Eddie, you read my mind on Wonder Godot, especially going against the boys in the Travers, as you indicated. We were talking a little bit earlier about Separation of Powers, Chad Brown, and we know what he's done recently, and you covered him at length in the Arlington races earlier this summer. Separation of Powers probably going to get a decent price coming into this field, especially going against Monomoy Girl.
Yeah, I don't know. When just on visuals, it looks like this filly should be able to go a route of ground. I mean, the breeding tells you Candy Ride out of an Empire Maker dam, and you think, wow, yeah, I mean, this filly should be able to go 2 turns and to be able to go a distance. But when I look at on paper, I go, I don't know. I don't know if this filly can go 2 turns, and that's what this race is. So, again, for me, looking at it, I sit there and go, look, until she can prove that she can go 2 turns. Now, you can sit there and throw back in my face and say, well, she's only been 2 turns once, and she finished 4th, beaten 5+ lengths. Oh, and that happened to be the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And, oh, yeah, by the way, she came out of post position 13 and out of 13, 13 fillies in that race. But I just wonder, why she hasn't maybe gone longer up to this point. Now, I know she's only had 2 races, so maybe she's sitting on, maybe she's sitting on a huge race, and maybe the breeding shows up and she shows up. But obviously, she's a talented filly, and look, when you got Chad Brown sitting in your corner, all those boxes are checked. So, but that would be my only concern, and say, look, she hasn't been able to win going 2 turns. So for me right now, if I was going to the window right now, I would probably try to beat Separation of Powers, at least underneath with, obviously Monomoy Girl.
And that race is due to go off at 4:55 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC, or 1:55 Pacific Time. And now we turn our attention to the Pennsylvania Derby, another Grade 1, and a couple of familiar names, especially McKenzie. And McKenzie would have been one of the Kentucky Derby favorites had he not been injured back in March, trained by Bob Baffert, ridden by Mike Smith. Eddie, what is your overview? This is a terrific field in the Pennsylvania Derby.
Yeah, it really is. And that is the wild card horse, Brent. McKenzie has only had 1 race this year. Well, I take that back. Has had 2 races this year, had that crazy race with Bolt Doro. I actually kind of thought, not only because I was on the side of McKenzie, he got disqualified with Bolt Doro. I thought there was mutual bumping going on, not only when they turned for home, but down the lane. So I thought my thought would have been no harm, no foul. Both were kind of going at it. I thought it was just good, hard race riding and a great race with San Felipe, but they ended up taking McKenzie down, and we haven't seen McKenzie since that race. Going into the Derby, or the Derby Trail, I should say, as you guys know, it was McKenzie and Justify. It wasn't Justify and McKenzie. So obviously Bob Baffert thought very highly of this horse, and it seems like a bargain coming out of that Keeneland sale back in September of 2016 for only $170,000. And, to me, this race has a little bit of everything. It has the unknown with McKenzie of, is this horse going to be fully cranked coming up for the PA Derby? You got some speed in there with the horse directly to his inside with Mr. Freeze. Trigger Warning to me is an interesting horse because I thought Trigger Warning and the Travers would be one of the speed horses. Maybe coming out of post position number 1 was not great for Trigger Warning. So I think being on the outside, I think this horse is going to show some speed. I think there's plenty of pace in this race. And from my history of watching races at Parks, speed is pretty good at that oval. So I think that you don't want to be too far back. But again, I think that it's going to be a good, healthy pace. Look, I'm going to try to beat McKenzie, and shame on me for the next 2 months to try to go against the magician and Bob Baffert. I'm actually looking to a horse that I think is really kind of coming into his own. Won his last race at Parks, and that's the 6-horse Axelrod with Joe Bravo. I think very tactical, seems to be getting better, and I think the race might end up setting up. But long-winded, Brent, I think McKenzie certainly is the wild card going into this race, and you're probably going to get, 7-5, 8-5 maybe on McKenzie, just because of the tag team of Bob Baffert and Mike Smith.
Yeah, Ed, I'm thinking of Axelrod, too. I've got Mike McCarthy on the podcast. He trains Axelrod this week. But to me, the key to the race might be Mr. Freeze, one of the Dale Romans' horses. Does he go to the lead?
Yeah.
Does he hold back? And the other one I'm looking at that could be sneaky good here, Instilled Regard, coming from Jerry Hollendorfer's barn to Chad Brown, and he'll go with long odds. So I'm like you. McKenzie, I don't know if he gets the distance. I'm looking to beat him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, again, I don't know. The East Coast has had their enough share of weather here the last little while. I don't know what the weather is supposed to be on Saturday. But if it does come up an off track, the 3-horse Instilled Regard is certainly a use for me. Yes, to answer your first question, Mr. Freeze, I think, has to get to the front. And what's going to end up happening with Bill Mott, with Hofberg? I mean, the blinkers go on. First time with the blinkers on. Ran a really good race in the Curlin. Was supposed to go to the Travers. Did not go into that race. Will he be a little bit more forwardly placed? I mean, this was kind of the hot horse, right? At the Kentucky Derby, everybody was talking about Hofberg, even though he did go off, just under 28-1. Everybody seemed to think that Hofberg could be that wise guy horse. Now, he probably would have taken a little bit more money if he was, but everybody seemed to be talking about him. Would he have got more money if it didn't come up on a sloppy track? Well, he just went on a sloppy track in the Curlin back in July at Saratoga. So, but I do believe is that, Mr. Freeze and Trigger Warning, for at least me, the way that I'm looking at this, certainly is going to be, the pace and the pressure, and hopefully set up hot enough for a horse like Axelrod, who I think could be very tactical with Joe Bravo in the saddle.
Eddie, the weather should be pretty good. The long-range forecast is going to be good Saturday afternoon. Rain coming in that area on Sunday. Vinny?
Eddie, you certainly answered my question on Hofberg, but you mentioned Trigger Warning coming from the outside. Of course, the ultimate outside horse, the 10 horse, is going to be Bravazzo. D. Wayne Lucas trained. Any chance here for him to sneak in?
When we chatted prior to the Travers and Bravazzo came up, like I've not been a Bravazzo guy at all. And look, I mean, he ran third in the Travers, and he was second in the Haskell, and we know what he did in the Preakness on the off track, and just missing there with Justify. I for sure. I think that he almost seems like to be you have to use him, but I mean, this is his 9th race of the year. I mean, at some point, wouldn't you think that it's going to catch up with him? Look, I know the coach is the coach for a reason, but you just think at some point here it's going to catch up to him. So, do I think will I use him in the win place on my tickets? No, I won't. Will I use him third? Well, I didn't use him third in the Travers, and not that it cost me because I was on Good Magic, and obviously we saw the news with Good Magic being done for the rest of the year. So, look, maybe he's just a horse that relishes a lot of work, and he's hitting the board and do what he needs to do. But I'm going to try to beat him, and I'm going to zero in on Axelrod and Hofberg around my tickets, and hopefully kind of try to use those first and second and see if we can get lucky with a long shot finishing third.
Eddie, we'll close with this. Bob Baffert has won 2 of the last 4 editions of the Pennsylvania Derby, and Baffert and Smith teamed up to win this race last year, as you well remember, with West Coast. So you never count out Mr. Baffert. Eddie,
I'll take that, Brent. I'll take that as I should just slap my face now, so that when McKenzie wins, then I'm not going to feel as bad, right?
Eddie Olczyk, you'll catch him on the broadcast on NBC on Saturday afternoon. He's being brought to you by XPressBet. Eddie, we always appreciate it. Thanks, my friend. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Have a great day.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.
Ron?
Yeah, by the way, we're not done covering this pair of races on the Ron Flatter Racing Pod, the normal Friday posting. Ed's colleague, Richard Migliori, the former jockey from XPressBet, he breaks down these fields. And, as mentioned, Mike McCarthy, one of the trainers in this race, of course, and we'll be talking with him as well at VSiN.com/podcasts.
Sign up now with XPressBet and get a $20 bonus. Go to XPressBet.com/Brent. XPressBet.com/Brent. Use the promo code Brent20. You get that $20 bonus. Put it on McKenzie. Plus, sign up for the free Pennsylvania Derby Wager Guide. Back live, VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204.
In the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.
Got a hot tip on a horse race? Bet it at XPressBet.com. XPressBet is legal, U.S.-based, and offers live wagering and video for more than 300 racetracks from around the world, including Gulfstream, Santa Anita, Naira, and more. And as a special offer for listeners, you can get a $20 sign-up bonus. That's right, $20 in house money to bet the races. Just visit XPressBet.com/Brent and sign up using promo code BRENT20. XPressBet, the most trusted name in online betting. Must be 18 year old to open an account with XPressBet LLC and reside in the state where such activity is legal. Avoid or prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 866-522-4700.